Factoring by grouping. When you factor by grouping, you can leave it in the order that it is in sometimes, and sometimes you need to rearrange it. What you want to do is group 2 and 2 together, basically, so that you have something in common, and when you end up factoring out your common factor, you're left with the exact same things in the parentheses. In this case, if I look at this, I have a uv minus a 5u. Since they both have the u's in common, I'm just going to keep those two together, and I would factor my u out of there. If I take a u out of both of those, I'm left with v minus 5. So my goal when I factor the other two is to be left with the exact same thing in the parentheses. If I want to be left with a positive v here, when I think about my greatest common factor, in this case I want to take the negative out with it, so I'm left with a positive. So here I'm going to say my greatest common factor is negative 3 instead of positive 3 because I want my signs to flip around. Negative 3v divided by negative 3 leaves me a positive v. Negative 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. So my goal for factoring by grouping is to have these two things in the parentheses exactly the same, which then becomes your greatest common factor. My greatest common factor here is v minus 5. When I factor that out, I'm left with those things in front, u minus 3. And if I would FOIL v minus 5 times u minus 3, I should get the exact same 4 terms I started with. So number 8, again, I'd probably just leave those in the order they're in, since 3xu minus 12x does have a common factor. And so what can I divide out of there?
3x.
3x. And if I divide the 3x out, I'm left with u minus 4. So then I'm going to factor the 5u minus 20. I want to be left with u minus 4, so what do I need to factor out of there?
5.
A positive 5. I'm going to put my plus sign since there's something in front of there. And indeed, if I do divide out 5, I get u minus 4. So the u minus 4 becomes my common factor. Yep, I can write. If I divide that out, my other factor would be 3x plus 5. And again, I'd probably just leave that one in the same order because my first two terms have a common factor of, you're all gone to sleep on me, n, right? If I divide the n out, I get s plus p. And so on my other two terms, I would want to factor out negative 7 because I want my signs to change, which leaves me an s plus a p. So my answer would be
s plus p minus
s plus p times n minus 7. Those were the easier ones, hopefully.